With a majority of people, consumption and emissions concentrated in cities, they are critical in dealing with climate change. Social sciences have provided important insights into city communities and how they work, looking at housing, energy, transport infrastructure, the interplay of people and policies. The Urban Transitions Project has surveyed 100 cities around the globe, mapping out what is being done to respond to climate change and pointing to how we can reduce emissions and strengthen resilience.
So we surveyed 100 cities around the globe to see what kinds of experiments they were doing. And we found over 600 different projects that were going on across this really diverse range of cities. And that tells us that climate change is really becoming part of what cities are doing on a day-to-day basis. It's becoming part of the fabric of the city. Most of these experiments are in the energy domain, but we also see a large range of other sorts of projects across coastal protection, around heat wave vulnerability warning systems. We see projects around waste and using energy from waste and so on. So there's a real diversity of things going on, but they're all connected by this idea that cities should have a role in responding to climate change. We're finding three main sorts of projects, or three different kind of logics or arguments why these projects are going ahead. In some cases, people are experimenting with climate change in cities for financial reasons, either to save money or to create new markets. And in a time of austerity, you might argue that that's a really interesting, good thing to see, that there is something around the notion of green growth. It's a kind of carbon economy coming to the city. Another set of reasons that we find across these experiments are questions around security and resilience. So in a project that we've looked at in Bangalore in India, where there's a really innovative housing project called Towards Zero Carbon Development, a main rationale of that project has been to try to provide self-sufficiency in energy and water for a new development on the outskirts of the city. But a third kind of logic that we see is this notion of trying to achieve some aspect of social justice, about using climate change as a way of redistributing resources in cities, so that people who might not previously have been able to afford energy or may not have had access to water are gaining, through the kind of idea of climate change, they're gaining some access to new kinds of services. We can see that addressing climate change in the city is a way to try to bring social benefits, to bring wider environmental benefits to populations who might be excluded in the cities, but it's not a guarantee. And so if we think that climate change needs to be addressed in the city, we probably have to work a bit harder to think about that kind of progressive element of how we respond to climate change. How can we ensure that it has those social and environmental justice benefits at the same time as addressing that big global problem of climate change?